I feel like the topic of today calls for this cozy setup. If you have been following me for a while, you know that one of the pillars that is really important for me and is part of living a healthy lifestyle is female health. However, if you go through my videos, you will see that there's not so much about it. And that is because I am going through some issues in the female health area, and I really didn't know what topics I could talk about. I don't know, it was just very challenging. So I think there's only 2 videos and it's period cramps, and I made this because it's something that I really know because of my personal experience. After a very long talk with my YouTube manager, we thought that maybe it would be a good idea to just make a series about healing your menstrual cycle, and it's going to be focused on understanding the menstrual cycle at a scientific level, and also what things we can do in each phase of the menstrual cycle. So what foods are recommended for each phase, what type of exercises to eat in each phase, how to really understand it and heal it. And then there's going to be a second part of the series, or like season 2, which will be living in sync with your period. I don't really understand why we are not taught more about this at a younger age, because I'm only learning now at 31 a lot of things that I had no idea, and I think it's really important. So I think maybe my story and my journey with my menstrual cycle can inspire and help other women out there going through this issue. I thought that it would be a good idea for the first episode to really just tell you my story, what I'm going through, and what I am planning to do in order to heal. So I got my very first period when I think I was 13. I remember perfectly, I was in German class. And everything seemed fine. I remember arriving home and telling my mom. I was freaking out, and I just loved how my mom was like, it's okay, it's normal. She was so comforting, and she just taught me the different things that I could do in order to handle my period. So the flow was fine, I had no pain, it was regular, so it was good. However, as time passed, it was getting worse and worse. Like, the pain was so intense. I remember perfectly, and I didn't understand what was happening to me. I felt like I couldn't get out of bed. I had so much fatigue, and I felt like I was going to faint. At any point, I was just going to faint. And I remember telling my mom, and we went to the doctor, and because she had similar issues, the doctor sent me a blood test, I remember perfectly, and my iron levels were so low, so I got diagnosed with anemia. Yeah, no one really gave it much importance to the matter, because my mom and my grandma had gone through the same thing, so it looked like everything was just genetic. We all assumed that it was normal, and I just had to get used to this. It was so painful, so obviously I had to live on painkillers whenever my period came, and just knowing that every single month I would be struggling. Years later, I don't remember very well, but I know it was 2021, I was in northern Spain already studying my bachelor's, and the pain was it was horrible. I couldn't bear it. Not even painkillers were helping me to get on with my day. I remember fainting, incredibly nauseous. My period was completely irregular. My skin was breaking out, but not like the few spots that you normally have. Okay, your hormones are changing, your period is coming. No, breaking out like crazy. There was clearly something going on. I told my mom. I was really worried, so my mom came with me to the gynecologist, and I was diagnosed with polycystic ovaries, PCOS. My gynecologist gave me a birth control, the Yas birth control. Don't know the details exactly, but I know that it was 6 months to 1 year that we went with the Yas birth control, because at the point of seeing that my PCOS had healed, the doctor decided to continue a little bit longer, not too much, but a little bit longer, just to make sure that everything was okay and for future prevention. Then I had my first boyfriend, so of course I wanted to continue with the pill. A year later, 2012, I was feeling really bad, in the sense of I was completely bloated, but not only on the stomach. I was bloated on my face, I was bloated on the stomach, I was bloated on my legs. It was just really, really, really uncomfortable. Wearing jeans was the worst thing. Even though I looked very pretty because my skin was perfect, I had no breakout whatsoever, I was just not feeling good. In the inside, I was just not feeling good, and I had this thought in my mind for a while that was telling me, just stop, we need to stop with this pill. But of course I didn't want to stop because I had a boyfriend. So I went to the gynecologist and explained what I was suffering. He offered another option. This was around 2013. We decided to change to the IUD. Worst decision of my life. So I'm not saying with this that if you ever go on this, it's going to be the worst decision of your life. It just was for me. I know it works for other women and other women love this, but for me, it was so painful. I fell to the floor the moment the doctor put that in me. I remember being 1 week in extreme pain because apparently my body was trying to expel it. I remember by that time my boyfriend at the time and I broke up, so I didn't care. I went to the gynecologist and I was like, get it out now, I need this out, I cannot take this anymore, I'm in extreme pain, it's horrible, I don't like it, so got it out. At that point with the birth control, it looked like my period had healed. It looked like everything was in control, right? My period was regular, the pain had gone, I could live normal life. So my gynecologist was like, okay, Fiona, let's just have a break. I don't know, I really like my gynecologist. He really listens and pays attention. He's still the same one up to today. He said, let's just have a break and see how your body reacts without the birth control. So at the beginning it was great. I was feeling super good. So I was so happy because I felt like I had my life back. And then in like months, the crazy period came back, but worse, way worse. The flow was horrible. Like it didn't matter if I got the super ultra pads or the super ultra tampons. I remember whenever I went to my friends, if I had my period, I would always be like, I need a towel because I know for sure I'm going to stain. Thank God that I had the most wonderful friends and always understood me, even like the male. They never judged or ever put like a face. So thank God for that. The pain was unbearable. The pills would not work, like just for a little while. I was calling my mom. I remember perfectly, like so stressed and so frustrated and crying. Like, what is happening to me? Like, whenever I have my period, I have to stay home. I cannot even get out of bed. I went back to the gynecologist and he said, okay, do you want to try the NuvaRing? It has worked for a lot of girls. He said it was going to be a better option for myself because I had been really like impacted by the pills. So I tried the NuvaRing and I was so happy with the NuvaRing. So happy. I was not bloated. The pain was like, okay, it was bearable, you know, like, okay, I could do my day in a normal way. I had no breakouts, like my skin was perfect and I had a lot of energy, like I really could, you know, I could live my life with the period. And the thing is, with my gynecologist, he was like, you're not going to be on the NuvaRing always, we need to take breaks. And this is something that I really love about my gynecologist. He doesn't want you to be on a unless it's like strictly necessary because you have an issue. Like for birth control, for instance, he was always like, we need to make sure that you take breaks and that your body recovers or rests from the intake. So with this, I was very happy. Of course, I was always taking breaks, and this was from 2014 till 2020, I think, but with breaks. And I mean like long breaks, so maybe like 6 months or 10 months break. Even during the breaks, my period was super good. Nothing weird came back. I don't know, because we didn't let enough time for my usual period to come back, or what was the case, but everything was really good. Like, it was painful, but okay. And in 2020, of course, quarantine, I wasn't able to get my prescription because I always got it in Spain and brought it with me wherever I went. So I studied my master in London, so I took it with me there. And then now I live in Brussels. So when I was here, I came here in 2019. So I always brought it with me. I always made sure that I had enough. But yeah, in 2020, the last one finished, so I didn't have any more, but I was like, okay, it's fine. We will just use this period of time as a break, and then I will go to the gynecologist and I will see what happens. And in that time, I remember having a lot of time to read, which I loved, actually. I was reading a lot, researching a lot. I saw what the actual effect of a birth control is. And I learned that with the birth control, you actually have no period. So it's not that you healed your period. It's that you literally have no period. I don't want to go very deep into the details right now, because this is going to be one of the episodes that we're going to do when healing your menstrual cycle, talking about what birth control actually is. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that we really need to understand what it actually is so that you make the right decision for you. I understood a lot of things that I didn't know about the birth control, and my brain was just like, oh my god, I actually know nothing about my period. I actually have no idea why my period behaves the way it behaves. I have no idea what my menstrual cycle is like. I have no idea, and this is like a major part of who I am. The menstrual cycle is a major part of who I am and where my energy comes from. I even find curious the way that I reacted, because I couldn't understand how we didn't know about this. I had another Nuvaring when I came back, because I was still learning. I remember I was still learning. To what I have read, the Nuvaring was still okay to use, so I was still using it by that time I met Jorge. And I remember when I shared with him my struggles, he was so understanding. And I don't know if my behavior was a little bit because of my past relationship, or like I was not used to a healthy relationship, let's be honest. So I thought that I had to stay on the Nuvaring for him. And I remember perfectly when he just sat down next to me, he held my hands and he was like, you don't have to do this for me. You don't have to stay on the Nuvaring for me. And I loved that moment. You know, he was like, Finola, you need to learn this for yourself. You need to learn what's happening with your period. You need to learn your menstrual cycle. You need to go through this, because obviously you want to go through this. May 2021, I was like, okay, this is it. This is it with me and the birth control. I will never, ever, ever go back on a birth control. And I remember at that time I met Natural Cycles, and it was like this new world of just other ways of getting to know your fertile days, other ways of getting to know your menstrual cycle, because a lot of people think that Natural Cycles is just a way of birth control, but it tells you so much about your menstrual cycle. It really helps to make the good choices for each phase. Everything was good, I was happy, but then crazy period was back. And it has been like that ever since. Every single month, my period is a nightmare. My pain is unbearable. I discovered that I had symptoms way before the period. You may know what this is, premenstrual syndrome, PMS. I always feel nauseous, I feel like I'm going to faint, I have no energy. When I'm walking, I swear I look like a turtle. So I was like, okay, I'll have to go through this, and I'll have to see what are the things that I can do in order to heal my period. So for a very long time, I was focused on healing my period. I need to heal my period, I need to heal my period. Until very recently, actually. I cannot really put a date, because since that moment I haven't really stopped trying to learn as much as I can. And it's not really healing your period what you have to do, which yes, you have to, but in case you have an issue, of course, but it's more healing your menstrual cycle, because you don't know your menstrual cycle. Like, the period is not the only thing you have. You have a menstrual cycle with 4 phases. So if you don't understand this and you don't know how your menstrual cycle works, you cannot really heal your period, or at least this is my perspective, or the new opinion I'm slowly building by reading and researching a lot, because sadly we're not taught this younger, which I don't understand why. I really hope this is changing. I have no idea if they teach this at a younger age or not. Next important thing that I need to share for you, maybe to see if like the symptoms have happened to you. In November 2022, I had a lot of migraines, constantly, repeatedly. It would never stop. I remember it was like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and I was just like so tired. I don't know what was happening. I just thought it was stress, like, okay, I'm doing a PhD, I have a lot of work, I'm obviously super tired. I just did like the second committee, which is really important, so okay. But it was not going away. So I went to the doctor, to a general practitioner. The first thing she asked is, are you stressed? So I said, yes, I'm very stressed. Are you tired? She also asked. And I was like, yes, I'm really tired. I'm sleeping really bad. No. And the third question was, how's your period? And I told her. So she was like, this is not only coming from your stress, this migraine is coming from your menstrual cycle. You're not healthy in that area. You're clearly not healthy in that area. You need to check this out, because this is not so solely from stress. She also asked me if I was working out, if I was doing exercise, and at that time I wasn't. I was just like completely focused on my PhD. I was not working out, nothing, for months. I remember she got so angry at me. She told me that I had to put myself first, put my health first. I come first, not my job. So she said, you have to change this. You need to find a way to work out. You need to go to the gynecologist, see what was happening. I remember we were scared. We started to be a little bit scared that I may have endometriosis. She was like, let's just focus on going back to your healthy routine, to your healthy habits, and then come to me again and see what's happening. So that's what I did. I talked with my supervisor, because also the doctor said, you're clearly in burnout, you need to slow down. I talked to my supervisor. I was so happy because he was really, really understanding, and we decided that I would go to work Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and then Tuesday and Thursday either not work or work from home if I was feeling okay. But like, we really had to take a step back and slow down, because I was just like a mess. I was building my healthy habits, slowly going back to the gym, finding the right, workouts, what I liked, and things got better. The migraine disappeared. I also went to the physiotherapist because my neck was completely stiff. I couldn't move it. I had a lot of tension here. So this was like the beginning of Finola getting better. Even though I was getting better, my period was not. My period was still crazy. It still is to today. February, March, I don't remember very well, but it was around that time. I said, okay, I think I need to go to the gynecologist, and obviously I cannot wait until I'm back in Spain and go to my gynecologist, so I'm just gonna find for one here. And I found one, and I said, I'm really scared that I have endometriosis. I'm really, really scared. So she said, it's okay, don't worry, we're going to check out everything. So she said, everything looks perfectly normal. There's nothing strange. Your endometrium is highly inflamed, so that is possibly an explanation of why your period is so bad, but there's no sign of endometriosis, so there's no need for any further test. So I was quite happy, so like at least I know there's not any condition. I just need to heal this and see where this is coming from. She asked me, it was so weird because I was not expecting these questions. She said, what do you do first thing in the morning? And I told her, like, nothing, I just have my coffee. And well, I go to work out and then I have my coffee and then that's it. And she's like, you don't have breakfast. I was like, no, I do fasting. And she was like, I love that you're doing fasting, but women should never skip their breakfast. And I was like, what? And then she said, and you're drinking coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Women should never do that. So I was like, okay, so I'll change it. She was like, if you want to do fasting, great, skip dinner or just like have dinner earlier and fast from dinner time to your breakfast time. She said that first thing in the morning, I mean, if I go to work out and then like have my vitamins, whatever, and then my breakfast, at that moment it was important that I had a matcha tea and not coffee. So these are small changes that I started to do, and obviously that I started to research, and this we will talk in this series. So yeah, from there I slightly noticed a small change, but not super big. I was feeling a lot better. I had a lot more energy with those changes. So I'm having breakfast every morning and I'm having matcha tea. I have to say that sometimes I do have my coffee first thing in the morning because it's a very like habit that I have built for the last year. So working on that is going to take time. It's a work in progress, and this is why I'm making this series, to be completely honest with you and share my experience and see where you can relate or not. And this is the whole process of me healing my menstrual cycle. Summer 2023 arrives and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to my gynecologist. I'm going to tell him absolutely everything that happened. I told him that I was scared that I had endometriosis, because even though this gynecologist said that I had no signs, my colleague, she's a doctor and she has done a lot of research, and she actually did her PhD on breast cancer. So she knows a lot about this, and she said, Finola, even though you don't have any signs of endometriosis, it's proper to do the appropriate tests to just really be sure that you don't have endometriosis. I went to my gynecologist and I told him everything. I told him that I really wanted to get a blood test with the protein to measure the marker for endometriosis. However, when you measure this marker, it could also be a marker for ovarian cancer. So I was really stressed. So of course I told the doctor of the blood test that I really wanted the two markers, the one for endometriosis and ovarian cancer, so that we can discard everything. So they told me exactly what day to take my blood test so that the values of the blood test were not altered because of me being on my period. Okay, so I saw the one of the endometriosis a little bit high. So I think it had to be under 35 and it was on 36. So I was like, okay, maybe this is because I'm on my period. But just to check, I really want to go to the gynecologist. I went, presented the blood test. He said, you're perfect, Finola. The only thing is, as always, you have your iron issue. And he diagnosed me with chronic PMS and dysmenorrhea. And then he looked at me and he said, okay, that's why I love him so much, because he really listens to his patients. He said, I know that you don't like birth control. You prefer natural ways of treating these issues. He said he was working with a brand that treated PMS, and it was like taking different vitamins on the days that you have the PMS. So he was like, you can do your own research. If you don't like this brand, you can find a brand that you like, have it yourself, but just make sure that you have this vitamin the days that you have the PMS, and you can also have it during your period if it makes you feel better. So it was to help with the symptoms and help slowly treat this. So this was summer 2023. So since then, I have been trying to think what things I can do in order to heal, doing a lot of research, listening to a lot of other women's stories. I have taken a few decisions already. The first thing is that the brand that I chose for my vitamins is Cure. So you can see that I have two boxes. One is my daily intake of vitamins and one for when I have the PMS. So in here, so every single box has like little pouches with the vitamins. I really like this brand because you can have vitamins personalized, like made to your needs. You can take a test when you enter the website. After answering the questions with the symptoms that you have or how you have been feeling lately, they select vitamins for you, and those vitamins that they have selected for you are not final. Like, you can decide if you want to add a new one or take out any that you don't think that you need. So that's why I really liked this, and I talked to them. So normally this works with a subscription. I talked to them and explained my situation, that I wanted on one hand my daily intake, and then on another one a different pouch with completely different vitamins to take during my PMS and my period. They were so understanding, and they said, okay, make your first order. After it's done, go ahead and cancel the subscription and then make a second order with this, and then go ahead and cancel the subscription and just like keep ordering that way. It is very early to notice a major difference. I have noticed a difference in terms of my energy, but I think regarding the other symptoms with the PMS, I think it's very early because it's only been like 1 month or so that I have been taking this, but I will keep you posted. Then regarding the fasting and the breakfast and everything, I chose 2 books. I did a lot of research on what things I could learn. So I have bought 2 books in order to be able to do my research. The first one from Megan Ramos and forward by Dr. Jason Fung is Intermittent Fasting for Women. I saw that every single information that I was getting on how to do intermittent fasting, I was getting from men all the time. Maybe it's just different for men and women. So I got this book. And then from Dr. Mindy Pelz, Fast Like a Girl. So I haven't started this one, and I have started this one. It looks very, very interesting. The other 2 books I have bought quite a while ago. The first one, and you probably have heard me talk about this book before, is Pure Repair Manual by Lara Britton. I'm pretty sure that you have heard about this book. And then the other one, Taking Charge of Your Fertility. This one right here by Toni Weschler. I have been noticing that these books are very, very important, and they talk about very important matters that we should know. So that is the second step, books. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Women Wellness. I have been following her for a very long time. She knows a lot about womb health, female health, and she has 2 courses regarding the period and the menstrual cycle and just taking care of your womb. I have bought those 2 courses in order to do them. Now, when I will do all of this, I don't know, because I'm trying to build a business while I do a PhD. But these are the small steps that I'm taking to learn as much as possible of my menstrual cycle. And of course, I'm using Natural Cycle, so it's a thermometer. And you take your basal body temperature every single morning and you log it in. The more you collect your temperature, the more data you have, the more the app is able to tell you how your menstrual cycle is. You're able to see in which phase you are, which I think is really, really helpful, mainly if your goal is to live in sync with your menstrual cycle, which I think it should be. This series, we're going to be talking about all of this. We're going to be talking about fasting. What does it have to do with your menstrual cycle? Why it affects women to have coffee first thing in the morning. I'm going to talk about menstrual cycle at a scientific level. We're going to be talking about each phase of the menstrual cycle and what foods we have to eat, what exercises are okay to do, how we can try and choose the appropriate habits for us, because for each one it will probably be a little bit different. Even though you have like the generic foods and exercises that are suggested for every single phase, I'm pretty sure that every single person is different. So what works for one doesn't mean that it's going to work for another one. The hope for this series is to help women out there that are going through the same thing that I'm going through or similar, and just as a way of communicating that you're not alone, that you're not weird, that this does not only happen to you. We're a lot of women going through this, but sadly it's like I feel still not widely open, and we're a little bit like scared of talking about these issues when it's just something that exists. So I'm going to say goodbye now, and I'll see you in the next video and also in the next episode of this series. I really hope that this helped. I really hope that, I don't know, you felt related somehow. I know it was a lot more my story than tips, but it's kind of like the introduction of the series. Now I'm babbling, so I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.